How do you make your community fun? When you want to gamify it, every step is important because every step has potential to either make your members enjoy the journey even more or potentially drop off.
In this video, we really want to explain to you guys how to actually gamify, I guess, your online community as well. And one of the things that we're going to be going over is the onboarding experience. Then we're going to take a look into the classroom and how we can almost flip that classroom into an educational machine for you as well. And then how to use the calendar tab as well. You know, when you're building an online community, those are the three things that really set the foundations for what you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to get out of your members. And a lot of that is done strictly through gamification. And so before we jump into this onboarding experience, we want to give you one quick win that you can take right now, which is a community post can literally be the first form of gamification. And what that looks like is what I'm about to take you through in this onboarding experience. And I'll point it out for you. So in my community, I was able to gamify my onboarding experience. So the first interaction a member has is a gamified tutorial on how to use Skool. Now, a lot of communities in the online space will give you a video or they won't give you anything at all. And there's two things that you're learning when you join a community. You're learning what is the software that you're using, right? This could be on Skool, Circle, Kajabi, Go High Level, WOP, so many different platforms. But a lot of people, when they bring people into their space, they just give them a video to watch. Now, I want you to sit there and think, when was the last time you played a video game that didn't just give you a tutorial that was just a video? You can't, because every single time they want you to get used to using both the tool and the actual experience, which is playing the game. And so what I've done here inside of my community is I have a very, very clear start here post. And usually, and what a lot of people have done in this space is they make this their introductory post. But we wanted to take it a step further and actually have the member that joins into the Skool community actually start to use the service, the tool. They use the Skool platform and they learn how to use it. And this is called the community loop. It was something that I designed through luck, like pure luck. I did it through a post and I realized what I had done and I ended up building this onboarding experience. And so what we're looking at here is when a member clicks on this post, what they're going to see is just comment start. Now there's this extra text here that says we're welcome, like we're happy to have you here, welcome into this space, but they comment start. And so the first thing that this member does is they click on a post, which is part of the experience, and then they comment something. It's easier for your members to comment than it is for them to create a post in the first place. So they comment start, and what happens here is they get sent a DM. Now, when they go through and they comment start, it's an auto DM that they get, and it goes into the messages. Now, I'm not going to bring up my messages here, but inside of that message, it sends them to a link, and that link takes them into the community. Now, if I scroll through my community, you'll see here I've got you've entered the chat, say hi. This is the post that link sends them to. And why I've done this is because I want my community to always feel like something is happening, even if I'm not there. This process is completely automated without me. I don't have to interact with any of my members. It's completely out of my hands. And even when I'm shooting this video, I could have a member comment start and then go through to this next post. And so this next post that we have is the introductory post. This is where we ask for a little bit more of that member. So when we started, we said comment start, 5 letters, pretty easy for most people to do. Now we want them to introduce themselves with who are you and what do you do? What do you love outside of business, and add a GIF for extra flair. Now, we always add GIFs to our onboarding experience because GIFs are just a great way to communicate the emotion that you're trying to share. And it's a great way to understand almost how people psychologically think about why they're in that space in the first place. And so we comment on the introductory post. They introduce themselves just like Jason's done here and just like Andrew's done. And, 600 other people have gone through and done this process. And so at the end of that, they click for step 2. Now you can see we're guiding members through this process. We're guiding them to the next step very clearly. We say, click this for the next step. So when I click this screen, it takes them through to meet the team. What also does this do? It shows them the classroom tab, right? So I don't give them the full classroom experience. I just give them a taste of what it is. So it's taking the user both through learning about my community while simultaneously learning how the platform works at the same time. So they go through, they meet the team, they meet myself, they meet Sophie, and then they meet Leon. And you'll understand why they need to meet Leon in just a second. We'll go through, they meet the team, they comment for step 3. This whole process, they're trying to get what's called the mystery gift. The mystery gift is a way to pass the baton to someone that might be handling your calls inside of your community. And so I'm not mentioning that too much, but it's just trying to get members to move through and use the software. And they click step 3, it takes them through to another classroom, right? So I've set up these different classrooms and I'm using the Skool tools to guide my members in a very, there's nothing else for them to really do except do the things that I show them. Why do we want to do that? Well, you don't want your members to be guessing, why are we trying to do this or comment on this post or that thing or do all of these things? It's very clear in what they do. And so this last post we have is the final step for the mystery gift that they're going to unlock is to play this week's community game. Now, this is what you can do with your community without having to build this whole process is create a game like this. So in this game, I've got wrong answers only. The first person asks a question, why is the sky blue? And then the next person has to respond with a ridiculous incorrect answer. You give them the rules. What this does is it helps build context, the zap between two members. When we go through here, the response for this would be because Smurfs are having a pool party up there. Really fun, really cool. But Adam goes, why do we have gravity? And Adadeo says, to pull you down when you're happy. What this is actually doing is it's getting members to talk to each other. You'll notice a lot of times in online communities, the leader will make a post and your members will comment the first comment and then the leader will respond. And then the next comment, that's literally a separate one. So Adam and Adadeo, you would just see the leader responding to each of these different posts here. It's not good. It doesn't help your community. Why? Because if you step away, your community have no connection to anyone else in that space. So they go through, they play this game. And once they've played this game, they're going to message Leon. Why do they message Leon? Well, it removes me from the onboarding process. And the first thing that happens for a member is they are given something. It's like, hey, thank you so much for going through this onboarding. And now here is a gift for you to go through. And it's appreciation. Now, when you take a broader look at this whole process, what is this doing for you when you're running your community? You actually know where your members are. You know where they sit in this process. So if a member comments start, but they haven't introduced themselves, well, I know that. If they comment on the introductory post, but they haven't gone through and played the game, I know where they sit with that as well. And so this is just creating the right amount of data that you need to understand how this member's joined today. Have they gone through and done that process? Where are they at and how can I help them? And so we wanted to share that with you because onboarding is almost the pinnacle of having a successful community. If you don't onboard your members in both a free or a paid community in the right ways, you will lose your members and you will not have an engaged community. You will not have a community that other people want to refer and bring more people into. So I wanted to share that with you guys and give you that quick win that you guys can just go through and copy a post like this. And if anything, feel free to just copy, paste, pause the screen right now and go through there. I'm going to pass it back to Lucas.
The focus on the onboarding is basically the same level of importance on the hook on any video that you're creating, because this is where most people are dropping off. So if people are getting confused and they don't know what to do, then the default action is not to do anything. And if they're not doing anything, they're not returning to the community. They're not engaged, they're not having fun, and they're not getting the transformation. And without like really holding them by the hand and showing, here's a like big blinky thing that you should click on first, and this will get you to the next step. And there's only one next step, because if you have like, oh, you can do this and that and that and that, like, but what should I do now, right? Then I have to like really think about it and become overwhelmed. And as soon as you are uncertain and confused, then again, like the default action is not to do anything, because that's the easiest at that moment. And we really want to make the easiest action to just go through this onboarding process. As Ryan said, like knowing where people are. And sometimes people kind of like just they don't have the time to go through that. But then we know it's like you are stuck at the point where you're about to message Leon. And then we can kind of like pick up on that and be like, hey, like let's nudge you towards the next step. But we know also what the next step is. And from there on, we can really help the people connect to others to have fun, but also receive that level of transformation that they are there for the community. And from there on, we go deeper into the classroom, because in the classroom, we really lay out all the things that the people have to learn and take action on in order to receive this transformation. And something that I see a lot of communities do is they just have videos out there, but without this action items. And without you actually taking action on these things, you're not learning anything, because the retention or just watching a video is super low. So what I really like about Ryan's community, also the synthesizer, is they are always like action items. Like, hey, do this, apply this. This isn't just information for you to consume. It's not a YouTube video. This is a community that allows you to transform your life and get to a specific result. And this is also like a very clear thing that people want. Just like in a game, you have an objective, like an end mission that you want to get to. And as long as people are progressing along this, and this is what the classroom is for, it shows people this is step one, this is step two, this is step three. And if you do these steps, if you follow this roadmap, then you will eventually get to your desired outcome. But from there on, it may not be enough to just have these videos for people to show, because again, depending on what skill level they are, they may not like do these actions by themselves, and it's also not the most fun, right? It's more like traditional education, where the professor talks in front of you and just preaches something, and you're like bored out of your mind, or it's overwhelming because you don't like the subject, and then you have to go alone and do the homework by yourself. So what we want to do is flip this around. So we still think about having the classroom there and having a video with an action item. But then instead of forcing people to take action by themselves, we move this to the third part, which is now the calendar, where we can now take action together and interact with one another. So instead of just having a Q&A call or webinar, it's more like a workshop. And Ryan, you also do that very well with having a specific agenda for these different community calls and letting people take action on that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what are some action items that you add to your classroom? Because one thing that I do like about the synthesizer classroom is it's a roadmap, and I can kind of see, and it's not something that I have right now, but something that I'm building for my own community, which is just a very 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step roadmap. But at the end of that, you have a learning period, then you have an action period, then you have a learning period and an action period. But you also need to have a sharing period, right? Because I've started to look at communities as a workers' community. I don't believe every member should be active in your community every single day, but they need to be active on achieving that goal that they joined for in the first place. And one of the best ways to do that is to have your members join, learn, work, but then also come back and share. And I think if you add that into the experience, you gamify it, maybe there's a reward. There's a lot of rewards, right? A lot of gamification relies on hitting a new level or receiving a new prestige in terms of a gun class. It goes from gray to gold. So having these like little things that members can also get in the back end of the roadmap is something that needs to happen. So I think when it comes down to it, you don't want your resources to be just textbook homework, but rather something that actually gets the result. What's something that you've seen that's worked for you in terms of having a resource or having the action item attached to your learnings or classroom?
Something that I like is have the classroom be interactive and customized to the player. So instead of forcing everyone to go through every part of the classroom, it's more about qualifying them, understanding where they are along the journey, and then pointing them to like, hey, you want to get to this end result, but you don't have to go through level 1 to 3. You can already start at level 4, because You already know your niche, you already know who you're helping, and you already have an offer. So now it is about like doing a case study on that. So you don't really need to go through steps 1, 2, 3 and pointing people towards like, okay, this is where they're at. So in order to do that, I think there are two essential parts that we have to do as the owners of the community. So first one is a qualification. And I'm a huge fan of having some form of form that people fill out. And I'm including that in my own onboarding as well. Something that you could do with, for example, Leon is when they receive this gift could be actually the assessment or the form that they fill out. So you know what to help them next with. So instead of saying, this is now like you have the whole classroom, but it's not for everyone to just go through. And I think this fits perfect in this onboarding process because now Leon knows this guy has filled out the assessment and you just have AI analyze this and then kind of like point them to like, okay, you should watch this module next. And then kind of like keeping track on like where people are along the journey and nudge them in this direction. And in order to make them feel good about this is like showcasing people who have done the work in the shared spaces where people come together, which isn't about just like you being the authority figure, the guru. It's more like a space where you allow people the opportunity to connect with one another. And ideally, I want to get to the community. And you said it quite nicely, like, I don't need to be there. And the community kind of runs by itself because people are on different levels. And someone who is at level 8, for example, and who has gone through almost all of the classroom material is able to help the people who are just getting started. And this has a benefit for both the people who are at the beginning as well as for the person who is at the end, because one of the best ways to learn something is to teach it to someone else. So this kind of process is the ideal place, and having this in the classroom, in the calendar, where you really allow people to share what they're working on and give feedback on each other's content. I think this is the crucial aspect, what makes a community over just a space where there's a guru and everyone just listens to the guru, because that's not really a community. That's more like social media. And we are already tired of that. That's why we're thinking about how can we make the community more fun.
Definitely. I think it's can be difficult to achieve that level of, I guess, symbiosis inside of the community because you have to remember that some people aren't as far along as where you might be. Hence why that's why they're joining, because they want to learn from you. And then making sure that the information that those members, when you aren't there, are being educated, that it's the information that you would give. And so I think you have to understand what's the direction that you're going with in it. And I think that's where having a strong foundational course helps people, because it's not necessarily referring to, or Ryan said this on a call, but rather this is what's in the roadmap. This is what's in the course. And, inherently it's synthesizing, right? Like all those members end up synthesizing the stuff that through it. That's why the synthesizer course works so well, because those members are sharing that resource with each other and taking the learning, going, hey, I did this. This worked for me and I went through this process. Here's that resource that I looked at first. When you've gone through this, go through step 1 first. And when you're ready to move on to step 2, I can help guide you through and help you if you even achieve step 1 properly in the first place. So I think you mentioned just before around the calendar, around topic-based calls. The reason that I do the topic-based calls is because I think you need to have some level of consistency in sharing new information with your members, but also letting them know why they should be there in the first place. Because if you just say, hey, it's a Q&A, so many people don't come and ask questions. They just sit there. I notice it a lot with my calls. A lot of people don't speak up. It's one of the biggest challenges that a lot of people have in calls. I joined a call just the other day, last night, in a chess community, and the leader in the community, her mic wasn't working. Because I've done calls time and time again, I jumped on and started speaking to Stuart and Lee, and there was a Sophie in the call. And I said hello and hi, and how is everyone going? And I started the call. If I didn't do that, it was crickets. No one was speaking, no one was talking, no one was engaging. People just aren't used to doing that in the online space. So when you set a topic, it's like, oh, hey, I really want to learn that. Or it also tells people who know a lot about it that, hey, there might be a place where I can share that knowledge. I can be in that teaching role. It's very beneficial. So I think what we were covering a lot in this video for a lot of people. And again, one thing I take a lot from Calvin Hollywood, he's a German entrepreneur, massive on the Skool community website and online community space as well, is take this as the inspiration of the idea. Look at what we're doing and figure out how can you take that further, or copy it and show us where the flaws are in that system or these things, and share that feedback. Because even when it comes to watching a YouTube video or sharing content somewhere, it has the same effect where it's someone posts and then someone comments and it's the same people. They step out of your shell and engage with those people and reply to comments that are there. Start a conversation, start a debate if you must, because it will benefit you to learn what that experience is like online, and it will help you shape that in the future. So we went through and we covered, I guess, my onboarding experience and how I've gamified using Skool and teaching what that looks like, looking at the classroom and how do you develop a foundational course that your members can follow along and eventually become the teachers in your community so it works without you. And then finished off with those topic-based calls inside of that calendar, which I think are highly valuable because it gives you a little bit of structure and it gives your community structure and shows that, hey, you are thinking for them, but then allows them to step into that conversation if they're an expert or someone that wants to learn that subject. So I think it's really valuable for what we've been able to bring to the people today, Lucas.
Yeah, and 100%. I think as community owners, we are not the gurus. We are more like the guides who just point people in these different directions. And we say, if you go in this direction, this will happen based on like all of these experiences, because we've walked this path ourselves and we've also pointed a lot of other people in that. And as long as we just show people like, this is currently where you're going, you still want to go in that direction. And being this mirror for the people so they have the feedback, which is another key aspect of gamification. Like the reasons games are so fun is because they give you instant feedback and am I doing the right things? Oh yes, I'm encountering enemies, I'm getting better loot, I'm like leveling up, like I seem to be doing something right. And I think we as owners, we are kind of like the game masters of that community world. And by just showing people like, this is the next step, and really being clear on where they're going and what they are doing. Like, if you join this call, this is what will happen. And of course, there is a lot of room for creativity and empowering the members to tell their own stories, to share their own experiences. But in the end, it's really about like uniting people amongst like one clear vision and helping them find the next step.
So, covering through the onboarding, the classroom, and the calendar is really just a foundational start to where your community can go in the grand scheme of the internet, to be honest. You have to understand what kind of game are you playing in the first place. Are we playing a story-based game where there is an end in sight, or is this a role-playing game that members can keep coming back and playing all of the time? There's so much to cover that we can't do in this last 30 minutes that we've been on the call with you guys and sharing it here. But if you have any comments, Lucas and I are both going to be in the comments below of this video. And if you would love to join my page community and learn and go through experiences like this, you can use Lucas's affiliate link. It's linked down below in this video. I give an affiliate link to every single member inside of my community, as all members that have joined have all been affiliated in. So if you want to build an experience like that, click the link below, come and join my community. You'll be supporting Lucas. You're also supporting me, and you're making the best investment that you can in yourself. Thank you for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Beautiful.